Looking to see if GenX can repeat and reprise their performances of that first solo kill. Going in, still has the ult, pop the Ghost.
Yeah, they're going to pop the Ghost. The Undying Rage is still there. He just about gets it off now. Hirit needs to try and keep running away. He will have himself a hop over the wall, but it's not enough. That's 3 kills now for the Tryndamere. And just as much as we're saying this LeBlanc's getting scary, this Tryndamere is becoming unmatched in the side lane.
And we have to track so many individual points of power at this time because we have the side lane threat now. We have the skirmishing threats all online. We do have a Herald. It's going to come back to team fights. The Tryndamere doesn't have the ult, so that gold is not relevant just yet, though.
I mean, look at the bot lane as well. Like, you're going up against 4 members of Misfits here. VTO over to the side of the wall. You haven't moved your Kalista. Jezu is saying, look, I can get more done on this bot side. I can get those plates to myself. And yes, we see Kalista as a mid-game spiking champion, but when you're able to kind of trade it back for the Rift Herald, it is still an equal trade for Misfits.
It is, but SK is still trying to poke their head around the corner, see if they can look for something there. Trying to play Spectator. GenX doesn't have the ult. Remember, he's behind enemy lines and might have to go for an execute.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to go for a long walk through some turrets, just going to execute himself. And before he does that, actually, he might just be trying to stall out just a little bit more. Just between the turrets, he's just proxy and his shutdown goes over to Neon.
I mean, I know that we've seen some deaths for the greater good last couple of days, but that's feeding kills over to a very important player for this team of Misfits.
Yeah, and when you talk about Misfits and Neon, like, we're obviously a lot of focus going there onto the mid lane, but Neon has been just as good. We look at how he did yesterday as well, and like, the guy came out 7, 6, 5, 7, nearly 800 damage per minute. That is just absurd to come out from it, and it's a big win as well.
It was huge, and of course it was against one of the top contenders in this league. We know that Misfits are looking towards the top spots now. They find themselves in a rare, unprecedented opportunity to try and take down what we assumed were the strongest squads in our league. Now, they have to get through SK4, and it has been a messy affair so far, but Neon has been the engine behind the powerhouse of VTO as well. Picks up a lot of slack in the late game, and Hirit, well, he's hitting the ground here.
Yep, Hirit is going to be hitting the ground faster than we could even cast it as we get the Rift Herald going up into that top side. A lot of gold being shifted on both sides. You can see it being basically distributed between different carries. Massive lead in the top side for GenX, but then you look at the mid lane, huge lead for VTO, and then on the other side of that, it's another big lead for Jezu in that bot side. They will get a second charge here. GenX does have himself his flash and his ult available, but there's a lot of single target CC. I don't know if he wants to go under the turret for that.
But what this does mean with that, just looking a bit further forward, is well, what it does mean is you've got long lanes to play side lanes. VTO does get out, but this is the map that we find ourselves with now. Outer towers being shredded everywhere and inner tower being taken down. You look at the Tryndamere, you look at the Blanc, it puts even more importance for them to use their huge leads well. So track that as the game goes on. We have very powerful members on both sides in different roles. They need to start pulling their weight.
I'm a little annoyed about that play. I felt like you just needed to Gilius going in, and then, you know, the ultimate as well from Jezu. It felt disconnected. It felt like they were going to the same target where they should have went for different areas. I don't know. I digress.
I mean, Treats had just used the flash and the ultimate. Well, rather the ultimate wasn't available, so there wasn't as much point and click, and there was a flash still on VTO. Maybe they could have come on in a little bit more to get
maybe
something
I'm just
out.
being harsh.
I mean,
you know,
part of me thinks, yeah, okay, maybe land one of your CC,
yeah.
but the other thing is that it is a LeBlanc. Will let you off just about this time.
I know, right? I was gonna make a point about how, like, you know, we make analysis sound as we're gonna see a Cataclysm coming down. It's gonna be on top of 2 people as Schlatan and Mersa are trying to just echo in on top of this thing. They're trying to escort people in, but Jezu gets the first kill. He gets exhausted down, but you're on full retreat mode Neo here as Misfits Neon off to the side trying to use those curtain call shots to slow down and pepper down the damage. You won't be able to pick up a single kill, and that's 2 quick kills going over to the side of SK. VTO in a lot of trouble. Flashed in on top of, and he will be shut down where he stands. SK are bringing the fight to Misfits.
And for the first time, we see grouped fights. We see everyone culminating on the same spot, and it's the Kalista that's in the middle of things, and it's the Jhin that can't really contribute in the same way. Immediately, you've got one of these frontliners taken down. Schlatan doesn't get a huge amount done, and the retreat is called. Neon is trying to pull off something, but end of the day, you're not auto-attacking on that Jhin. You haven't got the front foot in the fight. You're trying to play catch-up, and the Jhin is not great in that regards. And that flash that was saved earlier from VTO, kind of used in vain.
Just a little bit. They decide to go left. It was the correct door. That gives the shutdown there over to Gilius. Turret in the top lane taken down as well. And we're looking at about a 2,500 gold lead. And again, like I said, GenX is huge right now. Hira can't really go toe-to-toe as much as he probably like to. He's 2 levels down.
Hira is mini, and he doesn't have it. Whoa, chance in.
Oh! He didn't have his ult. He did not have his ult. Here getting himself back. Another one. That's a 1-4-2 Gnar in mini form. That was just Gen X not really respecting it.
Catches a little bit by surprise. At least catches me by surprise. Maybe I should have checked some of those cooldowns myself as Gen X failed to do so on the ultimate. Certus between a rock and a hard place in bot lane.
Yeah, he's gonna be all right though, because he's got himself his turret, and those minions are doing some work to Zlatan. Zlatan's gonna be the focus here. Gonna have to use the Crescent Guard as they just missed the hook on the top side. That would have been a nice little bounty to go back over to the side, but it's gonna be Zlatan getting baited in. Certus having himself the stopwatch keeps him alive, and now 11-9 in kills. 2 dragons to the side of SK Misfits. We know they like to play the early game, but now we'll see if SK can actually really punish them for this.
So when we were talking about, okay, well, one of these teams has to come out at least even from this early game, right? These teams which have typically struggled at that point find themselves actually on relatively even footing. It is lead over to SK, but at least Misfits, they're not coming back from. They don't need to make another heroic charge against huge deficits. And as we said, their main carry for the split in VTO has done very well so far, getting themselves up to a large amount of gold very, very early on. But the fights are still continuing to be traded.
And let's reset ourselves here. It's been a very chaotic game. We've had a lot of different movement. Probably not as bog standard as we expected. Where do you want to see these two teams play around? We have 50 seconds until the Dragon. There are some key summoners down as well for both sides.
I think it does come back to the side lanes again. I think that I'm particularly looking at Gen X starting to push in, having a Realm up to go help them on the other side. If Hero can start playing that weak side and getting those micro advantages, succeeding where maybe you expect it to be a bit of a done deal, then Misfits can start getting some wiggle room to play some of these fights up a little more. But either way, if you start losing those side lanes as the side of Misfits, and you let that trend start to get a look in, then you've got the Kalista ult to be afraid of. You've got the Realm ult to be afraid of to break open these fights and make it a very multi-directional confrontation. Misfits, though, as it stands, have got themselves the inside track on this Dragon. They do have Hirit sat on a TP in that top side, whereas Trinimir has had to be called down early to the fight.
Has been called down early. No flash available here for Jesus, so he would be the carry we would... And Certus as well. So pretty much everybody, apart from Treats, has not got their flash for SK, and we're on a decent enough position here for Misfits.
I think that flash is very important. Of course, you've got the Kalista ult to keep yourself safe. You can use that flash much more aggressively, but the Kalista gets to the Dragon first. The Misfits are looking at it going down.
That's going to be Soul Point. They're going to get the hook off as well. They're going to try and burn this one down. VTO exhausted straight away. They're going to be able to use the ultimate from the Kalista as well. They're going to try and burn him down. Zlatan has fallen. Now Jezu's going to start getting those spears into the backs of Misfits. It's a fight on two fronts. Hera can't do anything. Yes, we're seeing the Jhin use the curtain call, but the Realm Lord, peekaboo, I see you, has to get himself out of there straight away. And Hera just had no impact on this fight whatsoever, and he will fall as well.
And SK, they're using this platform they found from the early game to use their mobility, use this way to get different angles into the fight. Misfits couldn't stand and fight. They couldn't play around the Jhin, who does have gold. They couldn't play around the LeBlanc, who is put into the bounce house so easily. And Misfits, they have to play retreat right from the off.
I mean, Jezu's feeling it. Jezu wants to try and make this one work. Certus will land himself the spell Flux, and that is going to be video shut down again. Misfits, this is a bit too disconnected.
It is, and on the other side, SK, serious credit to them. They had a very difficult game yesterday where they couldn't find any of their players, but this time they're skirmishing with the best of them. You can see, Vito, what options do they have in this fight? They're CC'd for the grand majority of it. I would be surprised to see if they're getting more than a couple of hundred damage off in the entirety of this 5-on-5. See that Hera has to play in an isolated fight themselves, and it is just broken fights time after time. The first fight which went well for Misfits, of course that was another broken fight, but that was with VTO getting their own angles, being able to use everything to get in. This time not nearly the same.
The sixth man has joined though.
All right.
Objective bounties.
Oh.
Misfits have got their sixth man on the riff right now. They are going to be able to accelerate themselves. I'm memeing. As Goldberg said on the desk, it does not actually make that big of a difference. But it is a concern, like they said on the desk as well, that this is a bit of a consistent theme now for Misfits against big and small teams, that they're not really able to control this, first 20 minutes of the game, and they have to crawl it back. You don't always want to be playing catch-up.
No, but Misfits seeing their camps get taken away, a red buff contested at the very least. And this is kind of, again, like the side benefits you get from being able to push in and get vision. SK managing to find some extra bonuses. But Misfits, realistically, this is not a game which you're looking at for the sake of the result itself. It's a confidence booster going into playoffs. We know this is one of our top teams in the standings, but they want to give themselves Again, a bit of an argument for themselves, performing well in the best of fives, but this game is anything but that right now.
Yeah, and again, like you said, it is a bit of a confidence booster, but also you need this win to lock top 2. You need to be able to stop yourself from being drafted in against a team that maybe you don't want to play against. You know, you want to try and at least give yourself a shot at picking your opponent in the playoffs, and that's what this is all about. As we can see now, Misfits being pushed further and further back into their own jungle. They're getting pulled around the map so quickly, and you mentioned it earlier, now that we have the Jhin Kalista, it's not the Aphelios Jinx. Picking up these waves isn't as easy as it was with those 2 mainstay AD carries.
And actually, a thing which I want to return back to is, remember when that top lane turret was taken so long ago with one of those Herald charges from Misfits? I can't remember the last time Misfits actually managed to utilize that. There is no vision in the top quadrant. They've been fighting around that dragon. They lost that fight. They haven't got any vision off of their reset. Misfits, the advantages which they have found in terms of the territory they've taken hasn't led to anything yet. Whereas you look at SK, they have blue wards on the other side of the river. They have the ability to return to these side lanes and play them out safely. SK are managing the map better than Misfits currently.
I will say you are on a little bit of a timer in terms of what Jezu's impact will be. He will still be relevant later on in the game, but it does become a little less prominent, especially when Jhin starts to build up those career items. Already got that rapid fire cannon alongside that Gale Force. You are still looking at a 2.5 item spike here for the Kalista, but it will become harder and harder the game goes on.
Let me give a little bit of a time boost to the side of SK. You see those neutral objectives up at the top of the scoreboard there? You see one particular one in the size of a... well, what happens if that becomes 4? Things get very, very difficult with the Infernal Soul for the side of SK. These explosive fights where you're picking off someone like a LeBlanc who is very slippery, but if they take that damage, it sticks. You don't have something like a Zhonya's, you're not that tanky yourself. It's difficult for Misfits to survive the initial brunt of the damage coming through from SK.
And it all changed when the Fire Nation attacked, and that's what Misfits want to try and stop from happening here. And SK, they're doing very, very well. Like we said, you know, most people come into this kind of a game. We mentioned at the top of the day, look, you know, SK, they've got nothing to win. They've got nothing to lose. They literally gain absolutely nothing. But you want to go out with a bang, and you want to give your best foot forward, and also give a lot of question marks to the opposition number.
No, and considering, you know, SK started 2-7, they started in such dire circumstances, struggling to pick up any of these wins, picking up a couple of rookies too. This would be so big for a lot of the players. It's a proof of concept, it's a blueprint, it's something to work on towards summer, and it's something to just put a thorn in the side of these top teams to say, we'll see you next split, remember us then.
Here we go, though. There's going to be a realm open to that bot side. Vito's found himself Jezu, but he gets the exhaust off straight away. Zlatan getting jumped on. He's going to be taken out. Dragon has spawned. That's going to be the next thing, but Jezu's in a lot of trouble, and he is shut down, taken by the big Gnar, but the fight is still yet to be finished. As we can see, Surges and Vito trying to go in on top of this one. You still have a Tryndamere who is very, very angry and still wants to make the most out of this fight. He wants minced meat for dinner, and that's exactly what he's going to get.
Okay, it's a shutdown onto the Kalista. They get rid of priority target number 1. Okay, what about priority targets number 2 and number 3 in that Ryzen in the Tryndamere? They don't manage to collect the full set of them, and Misfits, they lose steam halfway through the fight. That's an Infernal Soul. That is SK taking a commanding lead in this game.
Infernal Soul, 5,500 gold, and Gen X is still happy to quote-unquote overextend here because he didn't even use his Undying Rage in that last fight, and you can just see the power that the exhaust has with Kalista. If Vito tries to go in to blow them up, he's immediately mitigated.
And you can see a little bit of the desperation on the side of Misfit, but it's also SK forcing the errors. They're making sure that they're splitting up the fight again. They know that at this point they have to play that kind of style, very quickly taking out Zlatan. You know that there's no smite at that point. At that point, Misfits go, oh heck, there's no smite on our team. We have to continue the fight. They stay a little too long. They walk into the bounce house, and Vito, again, really, really struggling to get the priority targets down on the side of SK. Doesn't have the room to do so, and he's left limping with half a HP bar. Even if he saves his life, he's not really getting down the key carries.
And that's the big thing as well, like key carries and Misfits. Yes, you got the Kalista, well done you, but you had to invest so much of your resources that at the end of it, you don't really have a lot left.
I think serious credit again outside of, you know, the names which you mentioned already on SK's. Actually, look at that 7-2-7 on that Dutch Arbor. That is some serious frontline work and some serious work with that Conqueror coming later and later into those fights from the SK jungler. And Misfits have to find themselves an X-Factor somehow because they're losing across the map.
Yeah, well, could come from Hirit, who's now able to at least go toe-to-toe now that he has got that Triforce finished up alongside the Hullbreaker. However, Gen X is going towards those Navori Quick Blades and also the Lord Dominic's Regards, so he's going to have a lot more in the tank as the game goes on.
He's going towards items of some kind.
Everything.
Yep.
I had to cover myself because I realized there was quite a few combinations that could have come out there.
It's like, you know, when you read like this is reading the terms and conditions of Tryndamere build. It's like, would you like to play Tryndamere? Look at these 5 pages of potential components you can go towards. This champion has always been very, very versatile in what he builds. SK, though, not giving Misfits versatile options. They're saying, come to Baron. Let's see how the next fight goes.
I mean, they still got a ward in the back of the pit. It has not been seen, so this is going to be Misfits knowing what it is. And we saw this, Misfits getting themselves a Baron steal yesterday. Here we go, the curtain call comes out. They're going to try and take it. They will get it with the Rend, and that's going to be secured now by SK. They're seeing them go over the wall. It will not be done, though, as Mersa is the one who has to fall. You have TP'd in the Nard, who's finally going mega. Streets trying to make this fight work. Double kill going in for Jezu, and he is just free hitting now on the backside. Triple kill for the SK AD carry. As he gets himself a Quadra as well. They're saving him. They want this. They know they can get it. Pentakill for Jezu.
And in a game which doesn't matter for the playoffs fate of SK, that doesn't affect their history in this split. They still stamp their mark. They still come out with some skirmish wins into the full team fight, decimations of Misfits, and it comes through Jezu at this point. Talked about that timer on the composition. Maybe it was extended a little bit through that Infernal Soul. It's also extended by SK just piling onto the right targets. They do push up the tempo of this game. They force the hand of Misfits. They constrain the options and say, you gotta come to us at this point. The run comes through. They knew they had the objective secured more than likely, and using their multiple engage options back to back with that Fate's Call into everything. It doesn't matter that Neon is left at the back of this because the heavy lifting has been done on the initial engage. All of the targets have been found on the side of SK, and this one's just the icing on top.
If you're going to go out, that's a good way to go out, in my opinion. That is a fantastic little gift to be given over as here. It's actually fights on 2 different fronts. Zlatan going to get knocked up here by the depth charge, and now he's in a lot of trouble. They're going to be able to throw out the cook as well, as Jezu once more. He's going to get beaten around a little bit in the bounce house, but Mercer's all by him lonesome, and he'll be taken down. There's going to be 2 more kills going on the side of SK as Vitio gets soloed out by Certus and taken down. This is SK in total control, and they are going to deny any kind of top 2 right now for Misfits.
It's a deficit too far. It's a fight lost too many. Misfits looking like they're heading towards that final L of the season.
Yeah, and it will not be 100 kills for VTO unless something absolutely spectacular happens. SK are playing spoiler today. They will deny a top 2 for now and almost certainly put themselves on as a little bit of a thorn in the side of Misfits.
That is not going to be able to finish off the regular split the way they want to. SK, however, playing spoilers.
Here we go. It's a party all on the fountain. Bring your friends. Bring your damage. We got a laser. We got some kills going on, but they still haven't died. What the hell was that? I love how the laser's just like, nah, minions. Well, 1 more kill there for VTO. Not quite gonna be able to hit the 100, but SK swinging out with a win.
2 kills shy of the 100 for VTO, but that game was not even close by the end of it. SK picking towards the early game, didn't go towards the Jinx of Phelios, changed the game plan completely up, and SK, what a way to end their split.
And also, thank you, Jezu. Gave me a pentakill, so, you know, I'm happy with that. I don't get many opportunities on the LEC stage, so I'm glad he was a bro. He was a bro to me right there, you know?
Playing the first Kalista of the split as well.
Yeah, first Kalista.
Yeah,
first pentakill for him.
There is something really
I'll have to check that.
bold to be said about a team that can change the game, play their own style, even when the stakes are gone.
Yeah, well, we're going to see what you guys thought at home. Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Gilius, Certus, or Jezu. Again, you made mention to both. I think Jezu's going to maybe get it because of the penta, but everyone did their part.
100%. I think that Gilius also early game. We talked about that being a sticking point for this team. Not to be seen this game.
Yeah, it is going to be sadly a little bit more of a kind of hill for Misfits as we come back into it. But before we head to the break, Riot Games is supporting and donating to the International Medical Corps, and you can join us in the effort to provide relief to those in Ukraine and the surrounding regions. The IMC teams are responding by expanding access to medical and mental health services for those living in affected areas and working to help refugees. Your donation can help more people receive the life-saving care they deserve. Please go to riot.com/donate to learn more. We'll be back after this this, with Jesu joining Lore for the interview.
They are out there, waiting to be discovered. Some of them are big, and some of them are small. But that's the thing with ideas. They don't just come to you. To find them, you have to move. Kia, movement that inspires.
A lion!
Oh yes, the king of the jungle. Time for a quick Red Bull?
Red Bull? But you still won't be quicker than the lion!
I don't have to be quicker than the lion, just quicker than you.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back to the LEC as SK Gaming get to end their spring season on a good note. And so does their AD carry with the flashy Kalista plays. Jesu, thank you so much for joining me for this interview. Congrats on taking down Misfits. A couple words maybe on the AD carry, because this season has been a lot about Jinx, Aphelios. I thought that with Hans Sama leaving to NA, we wouldn't see Kalista anymore, but I know that you like the champion so much. Why did you pick this champion today?
Honestly, yeah, I love Kalista, and I was getting a bit bored of the Jinx Aphelios matchup. So when they banned Jinx, I was extremely happy. And we did it because obviously, like, we don't have much to play for anymore because we're out of playoffs. So we wanted to play a bit more explosive, play with more confidence and trying to have fun as well, and it worked pretty well. So I'm really happy with the Kalista pick.
Well, having fun and both winning, I guess that's a good day for SK. You also picked Kalista at the same time as Jarvan, and I know that it's a combo that worked really well in the past. Were you thinking of pairing Kalista with Jarvan, or was it not even an option?
Yeah, we were thinking about it. We wanted it, but then we thought that the Nautilus might be a better option. Right. We saw that Mercer wanted to go Poppy maybe as well, so it could be hard. But we wanted to do the level 1 on Neon as well. He checked it well. So that's why we go Nautilus.
Well, combo worked out well in the end. Talking about your opponents, we saw on social media, especially before the game, that you were benchering with Veto. I know you guys are close friends outside of the game. He was aiming for these 7 kills to set the record for himself. Is it something that you kept in mind coming in today? And did it influence your playstyle in the sense that you wanted maybe to take him down a bit more than usual?
Honestly, every time I play against Vitio, I wanna kill him a lot, make sure it's hard as possible for him. But then at the end, when we were at the fountain, I wanted to give it to him. That's why I flashed. But I don't know, my team didn't want to, so I was kind of sad. I think Vitio deserves this title of getting 100 kills, but I'm sure he will get it later.
Such a good friend. Well, thank you for that. Maybe more about you, Jesus. This was your third season in the LEC. You got the player of the game today after also getting the very first pentakill in the LEC this season. How strong did you feel, even though it didn't go so well for SK in general maybe, but do you feel confident about your growth this season among SK?
Honestly, I'm kind of happy. I think the first part of the split, it was really hard, and I felt like we could be way better than we were, because in the beginning, when we started screaming, we were pretty good, and then we just started to get a lot of loss, and then it's hard to build confidence from that. But the second part of the split, I've shown that we have a lot to show, and we have a lot of abilities, I guess, to make a good result on next split. So I'm really confident, and I think we band really well with all the teammates. We all are kind of close friends, and it's working really well.
You really did.
So I'm confident for the future.
Well, that's great to hear.
Sorry.
And we saw so much better things coming from the side of SK over the past few weeks. I'm sure summer would be a better time for you. Last question for you. I know you were looking forward to be reunited with Treats on the bot lane. Any words on the synergy you guys found back after these 8 weeks?
Honestly, I love Treats. This guy is great. I love his mindset. I love his how he plays. I think it's a perfect match, so I'm really happy that he signed with SK as well this year, and I hope we will continue playing together.
Oh, bromance on the Rift. Continuing this summer. Jesus, thank you so much for the interview. Merci beaucoup. Enjoy the break. We'll see you back in summer, and take care. And this is all for us now, but we'll be back really soon with the next game, Astralis versus Vitality. A pivotal matchup in the LEC today. Back to you, Shox.
I like how you teased it there. We're going to be no break. We're back here immediately. Thank you so much, Laura. What a cool interview with Jesus. And I really do have the feeling that despite being knocked out of the playoffs, there are great things ahead for SK Gaming. They can be very proud of the way they ended their season. But we're going to look ahead to the most important game of the day. Vitality's third and final chance to lock playoffs with a win. It's versus Astralis. So without being disrespectful towards Astralis, this should be a good chance for them to do it. But I've thought that the last 2 days as well, Niski.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Vitality is like a really weird team because sometimes I'm like, okay, they're actually playing clean, they have good mechanics and all that, and then sometimes they just int it.
I mean, I think, okay, let's say it how it is. Vitality is not a good early game team. And I think last time Astralis faced off against Vitality, they exposed this as well. They had a composition where they had Jhin and down towards the bot lane, they had the Jace into the Camille matchup, and Promiscu was doing a great job of roaming up in the Leona. So they actually made the game quite unplayable for Vitality in the early game, more than it usually is from this team. But as Niskili rightfully mentions as well, Vitality is a team that has sometimes got the mechanics to, not to say justify, but make some of these crazier plays work. And it's one of the things that kind of makes this team inconsistent, because at times, yes, it works, it's looking great, but at other times when they take that 3 versus 5 fight and they just get completely demolished, then it just looks silly.
I mean, Astralis also yesterday mounted a big early game as well. They did end up losing that game versus the Mad Lions, but they've been doing good in the early game. Let's take a look at the comp that Vitality puts together versus G2 yesterday, and talk and theorize maybe a little bit about what the game plan is or should be, and from that, try to extrapolate what their ideal game plan is.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here is a Syndra, and right now we're not seeing this composition in contrast to the composition that G2 had. But essentially on the first 3 waves, you had all 3 lanes pushing in. Do you know how much this does for a jungler, how much you get to play around with it? You could go for counter jungling, anything like that. But it was Jankers who went in for the counter jungling. It was Jankers who got away with all this stuff. And you never played around the mid lane as well, with the Syndra had this stun setup into the Corki. You had a Caitlyn with prior with Tahm Kench. You never played for that either. I'm not mad that they didn't play for bot per se. We could have just used the bot lane resources, put it in mid. But Targamas kept out roaming Labroth as well. And Vitality was just never, I mean, they never had tempo in the early game. But this composition, they for sure should have had it.
I completely agree. I think when you play Corki into Syndra in the mid lane, I feel like Syndra's team should be able to just play for the first 10 or 15 minutes really freely and get vision, get dragons, get rift. But I feel like it did not happen this game, and I want to see if Vitality changes up their draft and if Perks goes back to like control, supportive mids like TF, Galio, Ryze, all that, or if he goes for like still Syndra, Yasuo, that type.
What do you prefer from Perks?
I think he should just play like a roaming champ and just put
TF every day.
TF Ryze.
Niski thinks TF is great.
Yeah, more news at 11. Yeah, I think we've been theorizing about what the team identity is of Vitality. I think ideally for them, they don't want to have a set identity, right? With those caliber of players, they actually want to be able to have a versatile approach coming into the playoffs. But the problem is, you're not even in those playoffs, so you do need to find something that works right now.
I think it's interesting. I think it's something that last year's strategy actually had, where you started out with one stylistic of only playing bot side, then you suddenly started playing a little bit for top side every now and then. But the thing is that approach worked because they started out with a set playstyle, then you made it work with other playstyles after. Vitality haven't made a single playstyle kind of work just yet. They're kind of just throwing it all over the place.
Yeah, or maybe they don't know themselves really on how to play as a 5. Maybe they all think they can carry and they don't really have like a big voice that just says, okay, we play this way, and that's what they do. But I don't know. I don't think they've found themselves yet, and I don't think the game today will look that clean against Astralis, but I believe they should win. So.
Clock is ticking, and yeah, they should win, right? Perks has been going off on Twitter like the whole year. In this case, he said, I just beat Zanzara Strundle with my Lee Sin jungle. Today is a free win. He also tweeted ahead of the Super Week. First Super Week, we went 0-3. You know, balance has to be restored, and now they're 0-2. The memes write themselves, and we love that they always keep throwing out these statements. But yeah, this is Last Chance Saloon, Niski. We talked about it at the beginning of the week, saying, okay, Exile and Vitality both have 3 chances, meaning they might not go as hard in that first game. But now the situation is completely different, and the stress is incredibly high for Vitality.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Vitality, they must win this game, or else it'd be really a big disaster, I'd say, for like the roster they've built and how Vitality has been saying that this would be like a super team and that they could contest the championship and all that. So I hope they win, and if they don't, I'm sure that Mad will win next game. So yeah, Vitality, you must win this game.
I am here for the timeline where the potential super team lose to the last place team in the league. This is the best timeline we've had in a while, and the perfect way to have our last day of Super Week.
I mean, and also, who can it be but Astralis, right? It's like also, it's so poetic, and I think that the players on Astralis, and especially Zanzara, they want to show something going out, just like SK Gaming did. But yeah, that super team of Vitality, they have to find a plan that works for them. Can Team Vitality finally secure their spot in the top 6 with a win here, or do they need to wait for the Mad Lions to lose their game? I would not recommend it.
Thank you so much, Shocks, and everyone else on the analyst desk. They don't get names. They're not important enough. Welcome back to the game. We're going to be bringing you this cast. I love how you're getting used to me, but you're also not getting used to me. It's just got to get used to
definitely along for the ride, as it feels like, I mean, Mad Lions kind of along for the ride in this one too. They're kind of sitting in the back seat going, let's go Astralis. Let's see what can happen with this. 25% of those remaining scenarios do end up with them somehow getting into playoffs. After all we've talked about, these 2 teams, the super team, the previous champions, not managing to get into, well, rather being on the brink. This is such a way to end out the split.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. The super team, you know, quote unquote, the way how you want to look at it. We'll see how they're able to do. But the first thing we got to do is look at those picks and bans. And we're getting those picks and bans I promised. See? Keep your promises. They're not on the screen just yet.
I'm glad you're a trustworthy person. It would be a little weird.
Never trust anyone, not even yourself, Nymera. Your own worst enemy. Okay. But coming into this one, again, it is still within Team Vitality's own hands. Their own destiny is theirs to mold and push forward. They just need to come out with the win today.
So, as much as that tweet was very funny from Perks, don't give Zanza a trundle. I think that Astralis has struggled to put a blueprint together for success, but they do have half of one, which is have a Leona, have a trundle, both are banned now, and unlock them early, get early vision, make plays around that. I think Vitality very happy to ban towards that comfort. We are now left with 2 bans. Vitality could ban out the Aphelios and leave the Jinx with the potential first pick. See if both teams want to play that gambit, play chicken with it. But see what version of the meta they want to go towards. The one we've seen for most of the split, something a little bit new that we've seen in the last 2 days.
Honestly, I would love to see them ban away. I was just going to say the Hecarim, but honestly, I would love to see the Zeri banned away here as well, or maybe even leave it up open. Again, Astralis have nothing to lose. They can play similar to SK earlier and just say, you know what, we're going to throw a spanner in the works. We're going to say, we're going to go crazy and go for something. But no, they listen to my comms. They're going to go away, ban away the Zeri.
Okay, so I mean, the thing about the Zeri ban is that, of course, you're going to get this trade-off at this point, and we're going to see Vitality have the ability to push in that wave early. And for me, this works against what Astralis have found success through, which is unlocking Promise Q on those first few waves, allow him to get elsewhere on the map, unless they want to go towards something like, I don't know, like Aphelios Nautilus that can fight very early and try and get priority in another way, just saying, we might not control the wave, but we're going to take your health bars down. That could be a way to go about things. Now, that Jarvan being locked in gives you a lot of angles to start getting onto the map early there as for Zanzara too.
And again, you're on red side for Astralis, so you have a lot of options there to counter pick, to even first pick something on the third one and then go into those 2 rounds of bans. We are going to see the Xin Zhao locked in. So actually curious there, Zanzara decided to go for that, and the Rise priority went all the way down, and now Perks has himself on that champion.
So the combo which the Astralis found the start of their success towards, that win against Rogue, a couple of their other games too pulling this out. Jarvan Vex, Hyper Dive, mid jungle, which can punish those overextensions. You go too far forward, that's a Vex over the top. That's a Jarvan comboing it down as well. Astralis have found success with this before. And again, for Mad Lions fans, you're really hoping they find success again. Of course, for followers of this super team of Vitality, struggling though they may. You'd rather see the other side of the Astralis coin, where they sadly don't get to coordinate this engage, because it is actually a very hard combo to pilot. Not many teams have actually managed to pull this off.
It is definitely a higher or harder to execute composition as we get the next run of bans. I like the Gangplank ban, kind of just limiting those global effects there coming in. Of course, Alphari known to be able to take something a little bit more carry-orientated into top
And if we're talking about Vitality and how they found that, quote-unquote prototype, that blueprint to success, it has been, let's get Alphari a winning lane with something like a GP or a Camille, which are both banned there, and mind control the enemy into picking Aatrox against them. I hear that works really well. And Vitality not going to have the choice of scaling lane-dominant champions in the right matchups. They'll have to think again towards Alphari's pool.
See what they want to go for. Of course, you can just get the counter pick over on the side of Astralis for White Knight. We saw him bring out the Lee Sin. Didn't have a huge amount of success. Wasn't, unfortunately, the 2020 Lee Sin White Knight that we all have fond memories of. And now you got to see where you want to try and take this last few picks. You've got your first pick onto the bot lane, so you get to dictate where this lane goes.
Do you wonder if you're going to see something like a Gnar featuring at some point to give you some options on both sides of the map? Of course, White Knight has been a huge Graves player too, and that is, of course, available. And with a lot left up on the table for both top laners, though, they are actually, as Stag going to say, let's go down towards that bot lane. Let's get ourselves an engaged support to aid in the dive combo.
Alistair locked and loaded, we saw in the last game. Didn't have the greatest of times for Mercer, but nonetheless a very, very powerful support to bring in there. The Tam Kench locked in. A lot of safety there to put onto Karzi. He's going to be very, very safe on this Jinx, knowing that he just has things that can just get him out of jail free cards.
But I'm looking at this combo from Astralis now, and you see the Jinx, who has a Jinzao in front of them. With that ult, with the Time Kench protecting them too, you are going to have to be pinpoint with your combo. And it's all well and good having a pushing lane for someone like White Knight against the Gnar if you do lock in something like that Graves. But I look at this in Astralis, and this is against a very good comp dealing with that heavy dive.
Yeah, it really, really is. And now with the Graves locked in, both teams have found themselves what they want to go forward with. And it's pretty, as we say, bog standard for the side of Team Vitality. They're saying, look, protect the Jinx, get those side lanes going and get pressure in the team fights. And on the side of Astralis, you're just diving all day long.
You are. And you don't have priority in that mid lane. You know, Ryze is still probably going to clear that out fairly well early into the game. And the bot lane, Jinx tends to overtake the fellow. So it looks like Selfmade will have more options than Zanzaro and Promiscu in the first few levels, which is typically where Astralis have wanted to start things off strongly if they have found wins.
And this is the big thing, again. Team Vitality need to win this game. If they don't, it goes up to whether or not Mad lose or win later in the day, and that means that you are
2 games for them.
Yeah, you are basically waiting right up until the end of the season. And for Astralis, this is just a bit of vindication. This is a kind of, again, similar to SK earlier, put a thorn in the side of this team and say, look, we are not to be messed with, we are not to be underestimated.
No, but of course SK already showed us earlier that it can be done, it can be the upset, it can be a little bit more drama left.
Hang on.
Oh.
Do you hear it?
Do I?
It's the big clock. And as the clock goes back up into heaven, we can come back down onto Summoner's Rift.
Sometimes you just have to pay your dividends to the great timekeeper in the sky.
That's why we have Zillion in the game. He's
yeah.
a representative. Anyway, let's come back into it. Let's talk about these two teams. And again, we've talked about a lot about how these different setups are going. You might see Zanzaro disconnect. It has been rectified. It is all good. Do not panic at home. We are still being able to play this game. But there's a lot of good ways for the side of Astralis to get on top of Vitality. But at the same time, as I say that now,
yeah, just wanted to, because of course, actually, when you do have these early wards, you can give XP to solo laners and for them. Seems like actually it's going to be the right... Okay, we're fighting heavy here.
I mean, Labrov is just trying to slow down Zanzara as much as he possibly can, just so he can't get the reset in. He's going to be that HP for his red buff, so he's either going to have to use his smite or get a serious ass leash.
And dare I use up all our ammunition up on this right now? But look at Zanzara, look at that HP, look at the pots already down. You are not going to be able to have these miracle level 2 ganks. You're not going to be able to, or rather it's going to be harder to do so, right? It's your options are starting to get a little bit more limited. And at least he does have White Knight to help out with that clear. Does have to use, of course, the smite in the first camp to regen a little.
These are the small little things. Vitality, they're very confident in how they can play. And like we saw on the desk, Niski saying, look, maybe they just feel too confident in themselves. Maybe that could have been a disastrous move had they had the, the Vex from Dayor moving up and maybe gets a fear off. You don't really know, but it ends up working out very nicely. I will say Labrov doesn't have his exhaust at the moment. And with the self-made move onto the blue buff, they will have full knowledge of where the Xin Zhao is going.
But I mean, Labrov literally just took that trade because Zanzaro put that ward down across the ward. It's like Vitality, they know that the ward is down and they know that the enemy know their own jungle pathing. See how that does influence both these junglers and the way they're going towards their lanes. As we see, actually, because of that early trade from Labrov, who spent a little bit more time towards that top side, it does seem like Astralis have taken control of this bot side, even though it is against that Jinx, it is against that AoE clear. It's just Kazi and Labrov wanting to play a little further back because Selfmade is not pathing towards their side of the map.
I do love the Vex. We didn't actually get a lot of time on it. I love the Vex into this composition that Astralis have built themselves as well, and trying going into Vitality, because yes, the Tahm Kench can give the Jinx a lot of safety, but if you just jump in on that Shadow Shard, pop down the personal space, everyone gets feared. That's a fear onto the Tahm Kench as well, so it does actually delay that reaction time.
I like it if you're ahead, because you snowball these fights incredibly well, because you have one round of defensive cooldowns, which will hopefully save your bacon, but if they don't work, well, you're going to get the resets and things go from bad to worse at that point. If you fall behind, though, you're going to go into the Devour, it's going to be a huge shield coming out, you're going to be falling behind. Speaking about early advantages, Vitality looking topside for theirs.
Yeah, well, White Knight recognizes now he's probably been a little bit too far forward. He's just going to try and deny the assist and actually pushes himself a little far forward. The minions in the turret will do enough. Does waste his flash. I feel like he thought he could have gotten away.
He tried to get the fat flash.
Yeah, couldn't get it.
Couldn't get it. It looks a little bit sad on that one. At least he doesn't give any kill participation over to self-made. But you know, we're talking about, oh, you know, Astralis, they do the XYZ in terms of the jungler, the supports to start winning there. And actually, we might see that coming out. But Alfari has a lead now. Astralis, can you return fire somewhere else? Wave is pushing against them in bot side, but they're not falling prey to a gank currently.
I love that from Labrov as well. Just saying, look, I recognize that one ward is not going to give me full information of what I need right now, and it does mean they end up getting themselves a camp advantage in terms of the steal. Selfmade is still sticking around this top side. You don't have flash on White Knight. He could honestly go for the dive here.
But you've just run out of Mega Gnar. I think if you had the wall up for the extra CC, flash in for that stun or something, maybe you go for it. Safe for now, and we'll yet to see another play coming out from Astralis. They're being pushed in on top and mid. Self-made using that priority to potentially steal away some Raptors. Zanzara contesting them, and actually looks like he's just going to take the free leash.
Free leash, gets the smite down, so nicely picked up there by Zanzara. And again, we just go back to very standard setups here. And for Vitality, it has been a very... I don't think we can underestimate or understate how important it is for them to just make playoffs, let alone get far in playoffs. This was a team that was constructed out of the best parts that Europe has access to. Now to stop myself now, as we can see the Karzi in a